In this episode, we embark on a journey across the Caribbean islands to explore the unique perspectives, challenges, and triumphs of waste management practices in St. Lucia and Grenada. So kick back, grab a drink, and join us for some Caribbean conversations.
Welcome to our podcast, and with me today we have Mr. Shilton Charles, and he's from St. Lucia Solid Waste Management Authority, and we have Miss Myrna Julian, and she is from Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. And of course, we know the Caribbean is renowned for its stunning beaches, vibrant culture, and rich biodiversity. However, like many other regions, it faces significant solid waste management issues. However, there are also significant gains. And today we'll be talking about the best practices in these countries, St. Lucia and Grenada, and to see what we in Jamaica can take away from your experiences and what you're doing. So welcome, Mr. Charles and Miss Julian. All right, so my first...
Good morning, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so my first question, what are some notable waste management practices that you have in Grenada, Miss Julian?
Okay, so first of all, I think that one of the key components of our waste management systems here in Grenada is the formalization of collection services. And so once the authority was commissioned, we went straight into the formalization of contracts with private contractors to provide our sanitation services. That would be collection services, regular collection services, collection for white goods and bulky items, and street cleaning services. And we also went into the zoning of the island so that whereas in the past under a system where it was managed by just under government and you had one entity responsible for the management of waste, you had things like frequent breakdowns and we were limited to collection service in just the town areas. So once we went into the zoning of the entire Tri-Island state, that would be Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we saw quite a lot of improvements in terms of the services that we offered, in terms of extending our services to all of Grenada. And as the years went by, we were able to cut those zones into smaller zones. So by fragmenting the collection zones into smaller regions, we were able to offer contracts to private companies, to these smaller communities, so as to have an effective system in place. So there wasn't just one organization managing waste, but we had these small units, and so we had great efficiency.
Thank you so much, and that's quite a lot. Now we're going to move to Mr. Charles. Mr. Charles, what are some notable waste management practices in St. Lucia?
All right, so the system in St. Lucia is very similar to what Ms. Julian would have mentioned in Grenada. We do have a zoning system. The island is generally separated in 4 quarters, and we have one zonal officer responsible for each one of these quarters. And I will go a little more into detail into how our enforcement system works. With regards to collections, we do provide twice weekly residential waste collections to all residents and a once monthly bulk waste collection. And this is done by private contractors. We have in St. Lucia, we've never done this in-house. We've always contracted outward. And this leaves us with the ability to use our small staffing numbers a lot better. So we did in 2016 subscribe to a web app. It's called Fulcrum, and we use that app for majority of our enforcement and field recording. We do everything from route tracking to the tagging of derelict vehicles. So at any point in time, I could utilize my work device to go in there and find the location and information on anything from derelict vehicles, illegal dumps. We also record complaints, and that's generally managed by one of the information officers within my department responsible for data. I would also have access. Well, every officer, information officer, along with our zonal officers would have access, but what generally happens when we receive a complaint from the public, we would log and assign to the appropriate officer. So depending on where that issue is located, it would go to a different officer, and we would internally know where to assign that to. We were able to start a segregation project for green waste. We realized that green waste was one of the waste streams which poses a significant threat to the compaction on the landfill. It also poses a significant fire risk. And we were able to create a composting facility on site where all green waste is diverted to. So as long as the waste comes in the initial phase, it was actually located somewhere to the top near the tipping area. We made some changes subsequent to the pilot project, and we actually placed that facility at the entrance of the facility, the landfill. So what happens, the attendant would spot any green waste and divert that to the compost facility, and we would actually have a few of our staff members managing that facility. Once the product is actually ready, we could now market it to the public, sell back to the public, or we could utilize it as cover material for the waste if it's not at an acceptable quality. In terms of public education, as I mentioned, my department, the Information and Communication Department, is run by the Information Communication Manager with 3 officers. We're also responsible for all public education on island. So any site visits, any site tours, any school visits would funnel through my department, and I would generally be the one with 1 or 2 of my teammates who goes out to the schools to do that public information or public education exercise.
How can we promote regional collaboration and knowledge sharing among waste management companies? Because I have noted some key things that you are both doing in your country. How do you think we can promote regional collaboration?
Okay, so I think that the first thing that we have to do is to accept that as small islands, we cannot do it by ourselves individually. That's the first thing. There must be joint approaches to address quite a lot of the challenges that we are experiencing in our islands. For us, small islands, we are generating quite a lot of waste. But for us, it is a lot, but not enough to drive businesses to be born out of waste, right? And so we need to pool our resources together, and in order to address quite a lot of these challenges. The quantities are there, the interest is there, we have our individual interests, but we need to knock our heads together to see how we can collectively address quite a lot of these challenges. It's not just the what is in the waste stream, but for example, what is happening in Grenada is also impacting Trinidad in the south and St. Vincent in the north. We're small, but we share one ocean. And if we look at some of the SDG goals that have been that are being promoted, it all points to collaboration. And I think that collaboration is critical. So how do we do this? We need to do quite a lot of harmonizing of our various legislations. We do one thing one way, St. Vincent doing it another way, St. Lucia's there. So said there would be no cohesiveness in terms of what we do. So harmonization of our practices, harmonization of the legislation, we need to do exchange some of our ideas as they relate to how we reach our various publics, I think that this would be one of the best means of approaching our various issues as they relate to waste management that are very common to us in our various islands.
Perfect. And I do agree with every single thing that you have said. Mr. Charles, what is your take on this? How do you think we can collaborate?
Yes, definitely. I believe it starts with, as my colleague from Grenada said, a lot of collaboration, information sharing. Our issues are not unique. The Caribbean countries tend to share the same issues when it comes to waste management, whether it be managing plastic or not generating enough waste to make incineration a viable option. We all share the same issues. Collaboration is key. I'm very certain that there are successes that Jamaica would have had that Grenada may not have had in certain areas. And if we have that forum where we could share our successes and our failures, then we have the opportunity to go back, come back to the table. But I believe first we need to create some type of forum where we could have that interaction. I'm not certain if you guys would be part of the JICA alumni, but that exists here. And that is one very good option because we're recently approached by our local alumni. And given it was a very small sum of money, but when at some type of project, and we did discuss the possibilities of travel and collaborating with other alumni across the Caribbean. So I believe that is one way we could capitalize on information sharing, on collaboration with other states across the island. I'm not certain if anywhere else uses the data collection app that we use here in St. Lucia that has helped us with enforcement by quite a bit. Enforcement, record keeping, reporting. It helps us very much, and it's not a trade secret. It's not like a KFC secret that we hide. It's something that if some other organization is willing to learn, then I could point them to the right area and give them some pointers as to how we set it up, what was done, and how we utilize it within our organization.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And finally, are there any lessons or insights that other Caribbean countries can draw from your country's waste management success stories?
I think that information sharing is critical, and by the use of social media, it helps in terms of changing attitudes. And we have been using this for quite a number of years. But I think that if we ought to change the way that we are doing things for the future, one of the things I think that we need to do is to engage our children. They are not our future, but they are our now, in that things are changing rapidly and they ought to be with the times in terms of how things are changing.
I would say when I just came in to the information department, my experience is that when I looked at our audiences, the general public, I did not see much interest in the topic of waste management. But when you give people the bigger picture, you show them everything it entails, there is quite a bit of interest. And I have received everything from interest in employment within the organization to individuals wanting to perform internships with us. So we try to go out there and get involved with a lot of other organizations where people may be more interested in that. And the fact that waste management is included within that, then we would get our messages heard.
Yes, indeed. And it is the same here in Jamaica. And I do find that people become more interested once information is given. So indeed, the social media platforms have really helped. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking us on this captivating journey through the Caribbean. Together, let's work together for a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future for this breathtaking region we call home. And I look forward to future collaborations with you both. Thank you so much. I'm truly grateful. Right.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Bye-bye.
This tropical discussion has come to an end, but waste management practices in our region still prevail. Remember, it's not just about palm trees and white sandy beaches. is about caring for our islands, protecting our future, and ensuring that the Caribbean remains a paradise for generations to come. Until next time, remember to manage your waste for the summer.